Hey guys, welcome to Roy Marsh Jiu-Jitsu. I'm here at Gracie Schwarzwald, my school in the Black Forest of Germany. I want to talk today about a topic which is something I constantly want to reinforce in people. I want people to understand, because I think it's something that's prevalent in Jiu-Jitsu, that there's a lot of things in my experience when I meet people, a lot of assumptions or givens that people develop in Jiu-Jitsu and they never question. And it can be really dangerous because some sort of core concepts are locked in and they're not able to visualize outside of those core ideas. And one of those is the idea of a best move or superlative move of any kind, or position, or anything. You see this all the time on YouTube. Learn the most dominant way to hold mount. Learn the #1 submission. Learn the best way to escape side control. Any of these things. Learn the unstoppable back escape. Learn the unbeatable takedown that will work on anybody. I know it's marketing, right? It's a way to get views, but I think it does a lot of damage because a lot of people coming up start to think about it that way, and I've taught, and I've had people I've taught or come to me and go, well, yeah, there's this move, but I heard such and such say that this was the best way to do it. And it's imperative that you get that out of your head. Now, quick disclaimer, I understand the value of it, again, from a marketing standpoint. I did it once with a video. I stay away from it with my videos as much as possible, just because I can't bring myself to do it. But I did it once, and I had a video called The Most Brutal Side Control, just as an experiment, really. And unfortunately, it worked. It got at this point, it's got something like 120,000 views, was shared on all these jiu-jitsu websites or Facebook pages and things. And I felt bad because it did work, so I sort of validated something, but I haven't been able to do it again, bring myself to do that again. I was fortunate in that what I showed was, hopefully much of my moves was very effective and something people hadn't seen before that much. But here's why it's really important not to think that way, or not to fall into that trap. What does best mean, right? Best in what setting? Best with what restrictions? So that's where people they focus too much on sport jiu-jitsu, so they think this is the best submission, or this is the best position for sport jiu-jitsu. Let's talk about that. So you'll hear people say, mount is best, or back is best, or these days, for instance, the honey hole, the 411, if it's the unstoppable position, if you get there, you'll win the fight. Nobody can escape this position. And it's a very strong position, right? But it's showing a lack of thinking outside of just jiu-jitsu as a tournament sport, right? Because let's say we're in that position. Well, I can't really control your hands well, so if there's weapons involved, I'm in trouble. It can be hard if the guy's holding on for me to get up and get away. If we're, of course, on the ground, both of us, right? So if we're getting scraped up, there's glass, things like this. If there's multiple opponents, I really don't have a good vision sometimes of other people. So is it the best position? Well, maybe, if I'm really good at leg locks and I'm in a sports setting and it's allowed to do twisting leg locks, then yeah, it's a very powerful position. But to say that it's the best position, blank check across the board, is incorrect. It's damaging to think that way. And that's the problem, is a lot of coaches will teach that way. They get convinced on, what works well, what doesn't work. What is the best way to do something, what isn't the best way to do something. I've had people who trained other places tell me, my coach never teaches stack pass because he says you'll just get tried. My coach doesn't teach this move because he says it doesn't work against anyone good. Well, ironically, at a time where there's more information and more techniques out there, you have coaches who are deciding by themselves that this move doesn't work, that move doesn't work, and so they're not teaching their students. Which often, in my experience, comes down to the coach actually not knowing how to do the technique or being very good at it. And so he says X move doesn't work. I'll give an example really quickly of, I remember rolling with this one person, and she had been told, to only ever stand to pass. Like, it's dumb to pass from the knees. You should never pass from the knees, you should always stand to pass. And you should never stand to pass unless you're holding the sleeve, because the person can hook your leg. So, all the ways to pass, all the ways to open the guard and pass, she'd been funneled down to one sort of door, which was, can you get control of my sleeves? So I just hid my sleeves from her. She had no idea how to open the guard or pass. She'd been training, a year or 2 years. Literally had no idea what to do at that point. She was completely confused. So I was able, with all the information her coach had given her, to shut her entire game down because it had all been funneled into this one very narrow tunnel. And if she couldn't get through that tunnel, she couldn't progress. And so she wasn't able to pass because of these assumptions, right? From what is best, Well, also, you stand up, maybe that gives a person a chance to kick you away, to get back to their feet. Versus you stay low, it's much harder for them to stand up and get away, which maybe would be better for MMA. So let me give you another example. Hopefully this will help. What's the best way to control somebody? Well, would it be mount? Would it be side control? Would it be back? You often have people say back is the ultimate position. You should do everything you can to get to the back. Well, if I have your back, that's great in a tournament. I get 4 points. That's even pretty good in MMA, right? I can hit. I can't hit, down the spine in certain organizations, and there's certain things I can't do. But also, if I lose the back and you spin, you're facing me. So if we're in a fight, MMA or street fight, now I'm in guard and you're punching. You saw this actually recently with the Gerhard Mousasi Rafael Lovato Jr. fight. He had his back. Gerhard was eventually able to spent the rest of the round. Rafael was having to defend punches. But then what if we're, having to think again about we're both on the ground, I'm scraping up my body, potentially I have no idea to monitor people behind me that might be coming to hit me. So for instance, for law enforcement or military, I teach knee on belly as not the best, but what I consider probably their primary position to go to. Why is that? Well, if I'm knee on belly, I really don't have anything on the ground that could be, damaged. My knees aren't on the ground, my shins aren't on the ground. I have a high profile that I can see around me. I can see and monitor his hands, right? So I can control his hands, so if he's reaching for a weapon or he's reaching for my weapon. Versus if I have underhooks and I'm down low, I can't see what his hands are doing. Maybe he's reaching for weapons. I can disengage and get away very quickly. I can strike. I can maneuver if I need to into cuffing positions, things like this. So, I take all those things into account. Now, will I say that's the best position? No, because if I was in a tournament, going knee on belly is going to be harder to hold somebody than it would be if I had their back. There's not as many submission opportunities as if I have side control. So it's not a best position. So when you hear people say, always, never, best, worst, you really have to question if they've thought about jiu-jitsu or thought about combative arts or thought about self-defense. Because to me that tells you they haven't, right? Or they've got their own agenda. So make sure that you evaluate everything, and then you see how much things will change if you change one aspect, right? if I can knee to the head, are you going to shoot as many double legs? No, maybe not. Maybe you go for more upper body clinches, right? Obviously, doing things like deep guards or, more open guards might not be as effective if punching is involved, right? Maybe you're going to be focused more on guards where you can really control their posture, like closed guards or butterfly guards, things like this. So just something as simple as that, is going to change everything. So you say, well, the worm guard is the best guard there is. Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful guard to sweep from. It's not a great guard if you like to keep your teeth in your mouth, or the person doesn't have lapels, right? It's really a good guard if somebody has very long lapels that you can wrap around, that's not trying to hit you. It's a great guard. But, if you're competing and somebody knows what to do with it, that's a good guard to score from, to get points from, to potentially, get into backs, leg drags, and things like this. So I would really encourage you, to, especially don't judge if something's best or worst by who did it, X famous instructor said this is the best way to do it. Well, is that marketing? Because if it's not, no, instructors shouldn't be saying that. What takedowns you work, how you clinch somebody is gonna all depend. Do I think he could have access to weapons? Is he trying to hit me? Is he trying to bite me? Is he trying to knee me? Are we on soft ground? I'm not going to hit a double leg where I hit the ground too, or I drop my knee if we're on pavement. Right? I'm going to do a standing double leg. I'm going to try to stay standing. That's all going to change. So I can't say that, a particular version of something that's very effective in wrestling is going to be also the most effective way to do it in a military combative situation where you've got, 80 pounds of kit on you, you've got weapons that you've got to try to maintain. So that's just something that, I constantly see is people falling into this premise of this is the best whatever, and then a month from now, no wait, this is the best whatever, and a month from now, this is the unstoppable X. So when you're training, if you learn a Kimura, recognize in what settings, with what restrictions, it's very effective. Then if you learn a different version of Kimura, ask yourself, is this more effective in under other circumstances? It could be the guy's stronger, the guy's flexible, does it allow me to exit the situation if I need to, or do I get myself in kind of positions where I can't exit as easily, versus just, this guy showed me a Kimura and it's not as good as the guy that showed me this Kimura. Like I said, I've run into people who, that was constantly their worldview is everything was ranked, and there was no understanding that any external changes affect that ranking at all. So that's just something I want you guys to think about whenever you're learning, whenever you're studying. Even anything by me that you really like, understanding that I will hopefully try to explain that this isn't going to be the best way to do it. It's just going to be the way that works for me well in this particular environment, understanding those restrictions. Right. Thanks again, and be sure if you guys are watching me to, what do the kids say, like, subscribe, and all that to my YouTube channel.